I've been noticing something really strange, and I've been noticing it for years now. And I guess I'm sitting down to make this video today to ask you all if any of you all have noticed it as well. Because I've been meaning to make this video for a while, but I guess I wasn't really confident about what I was noticing. I was thinking to myself, maybe I'm overreacting. I don't want to say maybe I was seeing things, but maybe I'm reading too much into things. But now I've come to the realization that, yeah, this is definitely some weird stuff, and I'm not special. There's a lot of other people out there that seem to be noticing this stuff as well. Now, over the past few years, being here on YouTube, I've had to watch more press conferences, more political rallies, more congressional hearings, and things of that nature than at any other point in my life. You know, before YouTube, I didn't tune into all of these different pressers and all of these different hearings. But now that I kind of do this for a living, I have to pay attention to all of these things. And as I watch these political rallies, as I watch these hearings, as I watch these press conferences, every now and then, and it seems to be happening a lot more lately, but every now and then, I notice something really weird. Like often there will be someone on the mic, it will be a politician or a prominent figure, and they'll be speaking. And you know, all of the attention is usually on the person speaking, but sometimes if you look in the background, there's sometimes some weird characters back there, right? You've seen the press conferences before. You know, like a police chief gets up, he's talking, he's got a bunch of officers and like the mayor and stuff behind him, right? Well, I've been noticing that a lot of these different like events, these different press conferences, political rallies, what have you, that when these prominent figures are speaking, very often there's someone behind them almost like mouthing the same exact words that are coming out the people's mouth. And it's really odd. It's really odd. In a way, it almost looks like a lot of these prominent figures are dummies that are being controlled by ventriloquists that kind of sit behind them and do the talking for them. I'm telling you, once you notice it, you will never unnotice it. And you might go years without noticing it, but once you see it, every single little hearing and press conference, you will look at differently. And to be clear, it doesn't always happen. It doesn't always happen. But every now and then I pick up on it and I notice it, and it's just some really weird stuff. In fact, I want to show you an example of what I'm talking about before I go any further, because a lot of this weird stuff just transpired during these confirmation hearings that we're going through right now. But first, I want to give you an example of what I'm talking about, and then I'll be right back with more thoughts.
Administrative matters first. I wanted to introduce into the record page 55 from the committee's interview with FBI employees. Just have some administrative matters first. I wanted to introduce into the record page 55 from the committee's interview with FBI employee Roya Demlow, who I wanted to introduce into the record page 55 from the committee's interview with page 55 from the committee's interview with, which took place on July 17, 2023. In that, which took place on July 17, 2023. In that, we're to leave this interview and we're to suggest or imply that when you said the laptop was real, that it meant that the FBI had affirmatively determined in October 2020 that the laptop belonged to Hunter Biden. We're to leave this interview and we're to suggest or imply that when you said the laptop was real, that it meant that the FBI had affirmatively determined in October 2020 that the laptop belonged to Hunter Biden. Would they be representing what you said, correct? Answer by Ms. Demlow. They would be representing what I said because I don't have much knowledge of that. They would be misrepresenting what I said because I don't have much knowledge of that.
Now, that's just a small sample of the type of stuff that I'm talking about and the type of stuff I've seen. It's hard to go back and try to find video clips from all of the different times I've noticed it. I think a lot of these videos have kind of been erased offline. But I did, manage to find a few examples of what I'm talking about. But the reason I decided to finally go ahead and make this video is because at the RFK Jr. hearing, confirmation hearings that just transpired, I noticed that this was happening again. Except this time it seemed like it was even more bold. It was happening even more out there in the open. You see, more often than not, when I notice this happening, it will be someone in the background, right? It's always someone in the background. They're usually looking very strange. Often they'll have their eyes like deadlocked on the person that's talking, and they're just mouthing the same exact words, right? It's wild stuff. I'm telling you, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist here, but it looks like freaking mind control. All right, are these reptilian mind control freaking aliens? I'm just joking. Am I? But yeah, for real. So at the confirmation hearings, I've been noticing that they've been getting more bold lately with this stuff. And at the confirmation hearings, there's literally a woman sitting right next to these different politicians who are grilling RFK Jr. And as these politicians are grilling RFK Jr., you could just tell it's blatantly obvious that the woman sitting right next to them is mouthing their very words as they talk. I just want you to see for yourself so you understand what I'm talking about, and then I'll be right back once again.
And you're just going to follow what they say. Is that what you're doing? You're just a rubber stamp for them in this position? So anybody, so it doesn't matter that you're before us. It could be anybody coming before us as long as they're a rubber stamp for this administration and disregarding your beliefs and what you think. I guess my question to you is, if it really is fundamental to what you believe, how do you live with that? How do you address those issues as you're moving forward, knowing that it's going to harm Americans? Yeah.
You want me to answer the question?
No, I'm asking you.
Okay. President Trump has asked me.
Fortunately, Mr. Chairman, one of the things I've learned in my tenure in the Senate is that a nominee saying that they're willing to work with me amounts to exactly zero. We need to get this fixed. Thank you.
So do you guys see what I'm saying here? And like I was explaining earlier, I wish I could go back and find all of these various clips and videos of stuff like this happening. But what I would suggest for you all to do is just pay attention to the people in the background moving forward. And I guess you're going to have to pay attention to the people sitting right next to some of these people, because that was just right out there in the open. That was just right out there. I'm sitting right next to you, live television, cameras right on our face, and I'm going to mouth the very words that are coming out of your mouth, almost in some cases before you even say it. So, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist. I'm trying to I'm trying to approach this as grounded as possible, right? So, trying to not be a conspiracy theorist, what do you want me to believe is going on here? You know what I mean? What do you want people to think when they see stuff like this? You don't want people to go into conspiracy theory territory. So what do you want people to believe? Because obviously there's like one of two things happening here. You can go far out there and say, oh, there's some type of mind control going on. Woo, right? You could go into conspiracy theory territory, which I would argue isn't as conspiratorial as some people would believe, but we don't even have to take it there. Let's say on a more grounded level. The fact that these people seem to always know the words that are going to come out of these people's mouths before they say it, it would lead you to believe that at the very least, this is all kind of staged. This is like a play, like a middle school play when you go see your child do Romeo and Juliet in the 6th or 7th grade. That's what this is. If it's not some other type of weird stuff, then this is all acted out. It's all scripted. And there's people there that know the script. They know other people's parts. I'm going to read your part for you. I'm going to sit behind you and mouth these words because I already know the words that are going to come out of your mouth because we already planned all of this. We already prepared. We already rehearsed. So if you ask me, there's only, you could look at it one of two ways. And either way you look at it, it's kind of shattering to a lot of people's worldviews. It's not surprising to me, but it will be surprising to some. In fact, those people won't even believe their own eyes. They'll sit here and they'll pretend that all of this is normal, right? And to be clear, this is not something that's just happening in America. It's not something that's just happening in American politics. I've been noticing it happening all over the world.
Quanto a isto, nenhuma. E a Polícia Federal, que o senhor mencionou, naquele momento não era dirigido por mim. E se essa prova existisse, a Polícia Federal teria encontrado essa prova. Eu afirmo ao senhor. Sabe por quê? Porque eu respeito a Polícia Federal do Brasil. Diferente do senhor, que agora está achando que existe uma ligação do PT com o PCC e a Polícia Federal nunca encontrou a prova. Se a prova existisse, essa prova teria sido encontrada. E se a prova não foi encontrada até agora, é porque o fato não é verdadeiro.
When I see stuff like this, another thing that immediately comes to mind is how many other people are kind of being controlled in this manner. And not just the politicians and the world leaders that you would think of, but like, for example, how do you know that I'm not being controlled by a ventriloquist right now? Like there could be another, like a weird lady in the other room going, mouthing all of my words for me before I say them. But in all seriousness, I'm not one of those people. But I question like how many people who we watch on YouTube, how many of these more prominent social media influencers, how many of them are actually real? And how many of them are being controlled? And in many ways, people can be controlled. You don't have to necessarily have a weird person behind you mouthing your words, but people are controlled in other ways as well. When they say that there's someone behind the scenes pulling the strings, you don't think that they mean that literally, right? But in this case, it almost looks like it's literal. These people look like puppets that are being controlled by ventriloquists. It's very scary stuff, and you have to ask yourself the question, are any of these politicians, are any of these prominent figures that are out here in our face every day, are any of them, I don't want to say real, but do they really hold the positions of power that we think they do? Or are they controlled by handlers? Some of them controlled more than others. Some of them, it looks like, can't even speak for themselves. Who's feeding them their lines? Is it the people sitting behind them? You know what I mean? Like, you really got to start looking at stuff like this, and you got to start questioning the overall power structure, because I think the power structure that we think we have is not the power structure that we actually have. I think all of these people that we see on the world stage every day, a lot of them, I don't want to say are actors, but they're just people, they're faces that are playing these roles. They're the faces we see, but they're not the people who are actually pulling the strings. No, they're the puppets. But you guys, let me know what you think about this. Let me know if you've noticed this. If you've seen other examples of this, feel free to share with us down in the comments below. And if you think all of this is crazy and you got a logical explanation for what's going on here, you could feel free to share that as well. But like I said, drop your opinions below, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll talk to you all very soon in the next one.